What skill is really profitable to learn? How do you manage relationships with spouse/kids? Hardest lesson that nobody warned you about. Welcome back to another video. Small business owner answers the internet's questions on all things business. So first question, we jump straight into it. What skill is really profitable to learn? Now they're asking about going to university here, I think, and what should I actually delve into? So I think they're chasing money more than they are interest, passion or purpose. So with that in mind, I think that if you are purely looking at profitable skills at the moment, realistically it probably is actually content creation. That is where the biggest value at the moment is for businesses. Not a lot of them actually realizing that. But I saw a fantastic interview with Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank saying that now he's paying more money to content creators and video editors than he is most of his senior management team. So if someone like him is investing into content, I think that shows we're on the right track. In terms of other skills outside of content, I think that AI is obviously something that's already here, but certainly going to disrupt and continue to grow. So AI probably, I think, is one of them. If you're not already in it and you're starting to learn it now, maybe the ship has sailed on that one. But definitely an exciting space nonetheless to be in. So I would be seeing something around content, something around the importance of value to a business, which nowadays and at the moment is brand. Next question, absolutely love this one. What is the biggest obstacle in business and how did you overcome it? For me, I would actually say it is probably a multitude of loads of really small obstacles. I think that is the understanding that I didn't have in business, is that things just take so much longer than you will ever imagine. Running a business will have more hiccups along the road than you will ever be able to give credit for or ever be able to predict. And there will always be something when running a business. Your patience is tested to absolutely no end. And whether it's a technical glitch, whether it's someone emails you with a problem, HMRC, VAT, budgets, government, whatever, economic downturns, clients not liking videos or wanting different amends or deadlines, whatever it is, there will always be something. And that for me has been the biggest challenge across the past 6 years. And now only do I understand that realistically, this project that I think will take a week or should take a week, it's probably going to take a month, probably going to take 2 months. And just having that understanding and not getting frustrated with the longer turnarounds or thinking that things should be done a lot quicker. So I think that kind of answers that one. It's just the understanding that business is so tough. The biggest obstacle is actually all of the small obstacles stacked up and placed right in front of you every single day, every week, every month, and every year of running a business. So a lot of people ask this next one, what is the importance or how much importance of having an interest in the industry that you work in, especially if you're going to set up a business in that industry? Now, I did used to think that this was really important because I used to think, how else would you get out of bed on a morning if you weren't interested in the work that you are doing or the sector that you are working in? I still absolutely believe that for about 90%, I would say, but that remaining 10%, or maybe it's 20, 30, whatever the balance is, comes down to a business model. So I work in video, we have a video agency, and I love creating videos, I love content, I love all of this and the faff on that we have to do to set up lighting and set these kind of things up. But is it really worth it when you put it alongside a business model and the stresses or the struggles and the challenges that a business model might face? I think the answer is debatable on some days, depends what day of the week that you ask me. But if you've got the right business model, it certainly makes working in an industry or a sector that you're maybe not massively passionate about work or certainly doable. One thing with the wrong business model, despite being in the most amazing industry or sector that you're passionate about, with the wrong business model, it can absolutely crush and kill that passion. So that's the balance that you've got to find. Something that you're interested in, absolute huge bonus. The business though has actually got to work and function and be a business model that will support you as far as you want to go. Next question, this one is around marketing. So trying to market a business, is influencers actually worth it? Is influencer marketing actually worth it? Now they've gone into specifics here, but I kind of want to answer it a little bit more higher level, which is you do have to look at your business, your product. You have to look at your audience and where it is that they're actually going to receive the market and the message that you want to put out to them. but you also have to think about your gross profits and your cost of sales. How much can you actually afford to spend to acquire a customer? So most people will look at Facebook advertising. They will say we put, let's say, £1,000 into Facebook ads, and we actually sold, let's say, £2,000 worth of products. However, if it cost you £1,000 to create those products or buy those products or whatever it is that you need to spend, then essentially you've just broke even. Now, there'll be loads of examples of that happening, especially in small business. And I went through that myself trying to sell some motorsport merchandise online. We were selling the t-shirts for between 20 to 25 pounds. It was actually costing me more than that, or round about that, to sell that t-shirt in the first place. Certainly not worth it. And that is where you've got to look at how much is the influencer costing you? How much are they actually likely to get? You're not going to know until you do tests and you let them put the posts out in the first place. But before you go and blow 50 grand on an influencer, think about the budget you've got to sell that stuff in the first place. Hopefully that makes sense. Cost per acquisition is what you've got to be looking at. In terms of the influencers themselves as well, one big recommendation I've started to make is that you want to try and go for maybe micro influencers, someone with a smaller following. Don't always think that you need Stephen Bartlett advertising Huel, although it certainly worked on me, with 1 million plus followers from the off. Absolutely not needed. You might want to get a influencer with 1 to 5, maybe 10,000, but loyal audience, really, really loyal audience that will listen to what they say. And if they're not following someone that they've become accustomed to constantly selling and advertising and influencer marketing, essentially, if it's their first few posts, they're a lot more likely to trust them as well. They've built that follow and built that trust. So certainly something to look at. Can be a lot more cost effective to get 10, 20, 30 of those types of influencers rather than the one big influencer, which might be a flop from the start. Next question, how do you manage relationships with spouse/kids? Now, for a start, I don't have kids. However, I do have a girlfriend that I hardly ever see because she works quite a bit, but I work probably even more. I'm not the best person to answer this one. That's probably fair to say, but I do think that when you look at what you want from your business, we talk about having an idea for business, and one of the first things you should do is write down what you want that business to look like. I think you need to do the same with this. So we've kind of got an idea of what I want the business to look like in a few years, and it won't be that certainly anytime soon, but being able to take regular, probably more extended holidays instead of just half a day here or 1 day here and there, being able to take a week off comfortably somewhat without the stress, or knowing that things will still tick over while we're away, while we're on holiday, while we're doing whatever we want to do. I think that's really important. Have a clear idea of what the agreement almost is and what you want to be aiming for. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to have that all of the time, 100% of the time, but as close as you can manage to get there is the way to go. Don't always be working 60, 70, 80 hours, working towards that freedom and flexibility. Realistically, it's not going to happen. Don't always be, the autopilot mode that everyone in life is on, to work and work and work until you retire. Try and have that balance long before you get to that point. Next one, I absolutely love this one. Bit of a cliche question, and it used to do my head in when I heard people ask this one all the time. Now I'm being asked it, and my ego tells me it is a good question. If you could start over with just one insight, what would it be? And for me, when I look back at the first 5 years of freelancing, without doubt the most probably difficult period in my life, certainly in business, because starting a business is difficult, starting from nothing is difficult, starting after being made redundant and not getting a redundancy pay is difficult, being 18 months in and being hit with this thing called COVID and a lockdown and a pandemic, also pretty difficult. So the first 5 years, not very nice at all. But I think if I had a mindset shift, or if I'm starting a business today or down the line, what I'm looking for and what I'm starting with, the big difference is that it's not all going to be me. I'm thinking about the team that I want to build within that business long before we've maybe even built the team. You might not be able to start with those employees or with that team. You might be starting a business by yourself or on very limited budget, but certainly want to work towards that team. For the first 5 years, I had the mindset that I will be a freelancer until the day that I die. I won't think about savings and pensions and security. I will just work and work and work. Ultimately, that's not going to work. But the moment that I got so incredibly busy that I just had no choice to hire somebody, literally business, certainly life just changed dramatically. Had this entire mindset shift and realization that no decent business, never mind a big business, but no just decent business was built with only one person. It might have been founded and started with one person, but it was certainly never ever built with just one person. So the team, the foundations, the management structure, if you like, we're not at that point yet, but working towards, management structure is certainly where the value of a business is held. Certainly people investing into a business, that's what they're looking at. And that for me is now the biggest difference. Having people that not only makes work more enjoyable, Jono and Ben behind the camera, most of the filming and stuff that we're doing, work now is a lot more fun, especially on the video shoots. Certainly have a bit more of a laugh at the very least, but just business itself feels a lot more fun, a lot more enjoyable when you're not stressing about doing everything yourself. Next question, how do you keep drive and prevent losing motivation? Now, everyone's gonna hate my answer on this. It is a very, feels like a hustle culture answer, but it's absolutely not. Realistically, I don't want to rely on a daily motivation or quote or video or speech or anything to get me through the day. Realistically, as much as running a video agency and running any business, by the way, but a video business can be pretty difficult, you've kind of got to have a bit more of a longer term why, and that has to be your motivation. Getting you through each day is almost like the job that you hate and living only for the weekend or working for the weekend, and the Friday, Saturday is your motivation, Sunday's filled with dread. That is absolutely what I want to avoid. So keeping the drive has to be with a longer term vision in mind, as opposed to will this day be good or bad? Hopefully that makes sense. Your longer term why has to come from what you want from the business, knowing how you at least kind of get there, have a bit of an idea and a plan as to how you get there, but a really clear vision as to what that actually looks like. And that pushes you on even through the worst of days. Right, love this question. Hardest lesson that nobody warned you about. Now, I kind of had the impression that building a business was a bit of effort, but it would be worth it. I certainly got hopped up on Gary Vee, who is one of my absolute heroes, still is and will ever for always be one of my absolute heroes. Maybe I was hopped up on too much Gary Vee motivation to just follow your passion, follow your interest, follow your hobby, turn your passion into profit and that kind of thing, monetize your passion. And I absolutely sort of fell into that as a little bit of a trap, I would say, because the hardest thing for me was just realizing that business is way more difficult than you will ever realize. It takes so much more time to do anything than you will ever be able to realize, and there will always be more hurdles on the road than you will ever be able to account for. And what I would think or assume would take 1 week to do would actually take maybe a month, and what I thought would take a month would take 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months. Where my business is today, I literally thought would take 6 months, and it's taken 6 years. So in many cases, it's going to take you 10 times longer to achieve what you think. It goes back to the very popular saying, I think made famous by Tony Robbins, but I'm sure someone coined it before him. But people overestimate what they can do in a year, but wildly underestimate what they can do in 10 years. I think that's absolutely true when you look at having patience and sort of building things up over time. But the general rule for me now is whatever I think the time of something will take, I just multiply it by 10. And most of the time we're lucky if we get it within that time. Things will always get in the way, things will always take longer. Clients, services, products, even this building that we're filming this in took me realistically 5 years to get. And from purchasing to it actually being built took about 10 months longer than I thought that it would. So yeah, that is the hardest lesson. Things will always take longer, things will always be more difficult. Patience is key. Next question, a difficult one for business owners this. At what point do you pay yourself? Now, we talked about being a fan of Gary Vee, and one thing that I really did get from him is not living the fancy lifestyle, not buying things to impress people that you don't really care about and living beneath your means. All of those very valuable lessons that pretty much sit with me every day. But knowing how much you want to take from your business, but how much can your business afford to pay you? You've still got to feed your business, you've still got to water your business, you've still got to have cash flow in and out of the bank. But having reserves there, all that sort of stuff, very sensible to do. I think from the start, you want to work out how much do you want to be paid by your business, what's your ideal salary, kind of think of the business models and things that sort of reverse engineer that one for you. But I think have a clear, this person in particular was asking about partnerships, and especially in partnerships, you need a very clearly defined contract, agreement, goal and plan in a lot of places to say, at this point, or when we're making this much money, or this is the salary that we expect to take, these are the dividends that we agree that we will take, all those numbers and things like that. Particularly in a partnership, you really want to forward plan. You don't want the arguments and awkward conversations later down the line. But if you're a business owner just by yourself and you're the only or the main shareholder, you want to have those goals written down so that when you get to it, you know you've hit that and you can start paying yourself X amount a month or a year or whatever it might be. Don't just keep growing your business past that point because you're not really actually looking at the numbers, you're not looking at the goals, and then just work yourself into the ground, which a lot of people do, and they actually could have lived a decent lifestyle, or the lifestyle that they at one point would have wanted. So as much as you want to think about taking money out of the business, don't always be leaving too much in the business through neglecting, I guess, the goals that you would have initially had. Getting to the end of this video then, what we want to do is delve into a specific business problem as well. And this is a great one here, which loads of people at some point will or can relate to. Stuck with only one client. And this person is a freelancer, video editor, I think, and they're basically saying they've now got themselves a client and now they're too busy to market for other clients. I absolutely had this problem. And the biggest problem that I had within this problem was that the one client that I had at the very start, I was then too busy to get other clients. I took on their work and then they didn't even pay me. And that is a big, big problem for business owners and freelancers. If you're too busy to market for other work, you're only then limited to the hours that you can sell within that time. And that is the freelancer's curse regardless. You're only limited to the hours that you can work. As a business owner, however, in terms of cash flow, in terms of planning, in terms of risks to a business, one is the most dangerous number out of the lot. And I would basically run the rule that if you've got a business that has a key client any more than 10% probably of your revenue, you want to make sure that you're diluting them down. Realistically for us, let's be totally honest as well and transparent with this, we do face that problem in a roundabout way. We do a lot of our work with the NHS here in the UK, and I'm going to say probably 80% of our work is NHS. Now that's a big problem. However, the NHS itself has all of these different hospital trusts across the region. So technically, as much as we have the NHS, we have all of these different hospitals and they are all individual clients and all of the individual different departments. However, big problem for us, if the NHS says, now as a new rule, you're not allowed to work with external video agencies, very unlikely, but we've seen worse things happen. That is very dangerous for us. And so we as a business need to get that balance back with public sector work and commercial work or private business work. Big challenge though, and one that a lot of businesses will absolutely have. So if you do have one client, you're stuck with one client, you need to be out of the mindset that feast and famine is fine, because it absolutely isn't. Freelancers especially, you'll be busy with loads of work, and as soon as that drops off, that one key client changes. Remember, they only have to be bought out by a management or someone in the marketing department changes jobs. Your key contact is gone. You will then get to a quiet point, and that is where you do all of your marketing, and then you get work coming back in again, and then your marketing stops. You need to be consistent in your marketing, even if it's time just carved out to set aside to do cold calls, which this person referenced in their particular question. So you've always got to be thinking ahead. One key client is way too dangerous in any business, and always be thinking about your marketing, your pipeline, your leads, how you're bringing work in constantly. So there we go, another video done. Plenty of questions answered in that one. Hopefully you found this one helpful. We've delved into these in a little bit of detail. Hopefully it has been good. If you've got any answers yourself to these questions, some help and advice that you would love to give, please do share it down in the comments. And equally, if you have yourself a question that you would love to be answered on this show, can we call it a show? I don't know if we can call it a show. If you'd like it to be answered on this channel though, please do drop them in the comments and we will absolutely do our best. Make sure to subscribe, plenty more videos up on the way to this channel, and I shall see you in the next video.